I said 6:50. I'm about a minute late. I'm going to get things fired off, get the word out so that we can get this started. Ooh, Lord, yes. All right, everybody. Welcome to the Bonnet Chronicles. I am your host, Kalari GXC. And as you can see, I have a video already loaded like I did on Tuesday night. We are going to unpack a lot of stuff tonight. It is going to be very heavy topics. So as the chat fills, I may or may not interact as much with you guys this tonight. I'm going to try my best, but I need to be 100%. I'm going to be talking a lot of stuff tonight about bigotry, racism, and unacceptable forms. And I felt as I was doing the research for a lot of this stuff tonight and watching videos like this that there were levels. And this bumped Nick Cannon out the way because he was going to be what I opened up with since it is a lot of heavy stuff I wanted to talk about. I had a whole eight is enough joke that I was going to go through over him having yet another kid on the way and talking about, oh, I finally realized after eight babies it's too much. But there's a seriousness that we need to address with this stuff. So instead of the comedic levels, even though this video kind of falls under tragic comedy, colorism is a good way to kick off this heavier topic because we're going to talk about socially accepted fuckery, especially when the realms of bigotry and how certain people get punishment and the consequences for their actions while others are given an elevated platform. And I just want to unpack this thing with Thandie and then break it down how it made me feel and what I understand from this because a lot of people are taking this different ways. And as a black woman, it's always a touchy subject for me when it comes to colorism because when you're on that side that society views as different, it can be hard. And hey, welcome to the chat, Solomon Isle. So I'm gonna get ready to play this for y'all so that you can. I'm just gonna play it for y'all because, good lord, it's messy. Let's get this loaded up here. Okay.
I've wanted so desperately to apologize every day to darker skinned actresses to say, I'm sorry that I'm the one chosen. My mama looks like you.
Okay.
My mum looks like you. And
Okay.
it's been very painful to have women that look like my mum feel like I'm not representing them, that I'm taking from them, taking their
Okay.
men, taking their work,
Okay.
taking their truth. I didn't mean to,
Okay. Like I said, colorism is a touchy subject for black people, but especially for black women because of the hierarchy of it, because of the paper bag rule, because of so many stupid social constructs that it is a rough subject. And I know it was easy to clown on Thandie yesterday. Even I got a joke in about the Avatar movies must suck, and that's why she's doing this dumb crap. But honestly speaking, the pain she's feeling, I feel like as the parent of a child that can identify as biracial, but we raise him to identify as black, it is hard. You're in the middle of a mess. And the last few years, especially with all the heightened tension and racist rhetoric that's been going around, it's got to be hard, but I need Thandie, if in any way, shape, or form she ever gets to hear this, to understand that the whole idea that you think black women are angry because you're stealing our men, I mean, I do date a white man, but I don't think you're stealing black men from black women. And honestly speaking, some of the things you said were really problematic. We understand that your mom looked like us. We understand that you are one of us, you know. And I know a lot of biracial people try to walk that fine line of, you know, I can claim both, but honestly speaking, you're black. And I think it's hard on you right now. So I don't want to minimize your pain. But when we say that it hurts us having somebody that is very fair skinned represent a darker skinned African American figure when there are plenty of dark skinned African American actresses who are just trying to get their foot in the door. This isn't an attack on you as a person, even though I could see why you would take it that way because it's hard. You're black too. You want to be able to portray certain figures, but you also walk that line of being what is called exceptional for us, beauty standards wise, and it hurts your darker skinned sisters. So, like I said, there's no easy way to approach this topic. And for real, my first reaction to this video was, you know, the normal jabs at her and the dark humor because I you get tired. You get tired of these fraudulent standards, the same standards that probably weighed upon Miss America's Chelsea Chris's mindset before she took her life. It is not easy for us black women to go through what we go through, and the fractures are there and you see it in stuff like Thandie's meltdown. I feel bad for her publicist right now. It has got, the digital age has got to be a terrible time for people's publicists because they do shit like this. They go on TikTok or they get in front of their camera and they upload it to whatever social media site. And how do you damage control this? You don't. Hollywood will pick Thandie over a lot of darker skinned black actresses right now. And she's far from the only one. But the thing is, they're still black actresses. So it's not an easy thing to talk about. And I think people need to respect and understand that before we start digging. And like I said, for biracial people as well, it's rough. They are in the middle of some fucked up stuff. And if they were raised by white people, and I'm just going to say it at the risk of people getting upset by me saying this, they have a lot more stuff twisted. Now, Thandie was raised by a black mama. That's probably why this hurts her so deep. She was probably raised blacker than a lot of people. And I just feel like we need to be mindful that she's in pain too. You know, she definitely should have. And welcome to the chat's respect. I think that she just decided that this would be better for Black history to get on there and cry about how she's hurting too. And like, I don't want to minimize her pain, but I feel like the trope she was saying about why we were upset, like the steal our man thing, I had to side eye that. Who's saying that to you? Nobody that I know has even mentioned your relationships at all. It's the fact that you played Nina Simone. If y'all don't know who Nina Simone is, y'all really need to get better music habits. But also, Nina Simone, I think I might have even been a little bit darker than her. But she was a chocolate sister. And then you had to get prosthetics as well because your facial features did not match her. And when you look at that, when we have Alfie Woodard, we have God, why am I blanking on names? We have so many black actresses that could have done this role the justice it deserved. And yeah, you faced some harsh backlash because you took the role and had to try to augment your face, a very nearly blackface, a black role as a black woman. And nowhere in your mind or your publicist's mind did you think maybe this isn't for me. Maybe having to augment myself so much should tell me that this isn't my role. I might feel that I have the acting chops to pull off what Nina went through, but this would have been better for somebody who actually understood what it was like to live that life. Because I'm sorry, hon, even though I will never deny your blackness, it wasn't the same road for you. It will never be the same road for you. So, like I said, didn't want to just clown on her because it's easy. This was a minute long of unnecessary. It was a whole ass minute of unnecessary. But I felt that she was really in pain, trying to convey her pain. It's definitely a publicist's nightmare, but it starts off really heavy topic. So I wanted to start the layer off with the colorism, because this is another microcosm of our social structure, this socially accepted fuckery that has black women doing shit like this, just in our heads about our acceptance level. And it's painful. You want to give her a hug for the pain you know she's going through by feeling rejected by her people and whoever else. But you also want her to understand that we are just rejecting the premise that you can handle every black role that Hollywood thinks they can throw at you, because you've never lived the life of a fully dark-skinned black woman. And when you have actresses that have the chops to pull something like that off, look to the side, it hurts us too. But we ain't got the platform where we can get on TikTok or wherever and cry about it. So I just want to make it clear. No disrespect to Thandie. I hope the Avatar movies don't suck and that you're not doing it for those reasons. But I just don't understand why we needed a whole last minute of you talking about how your mom's black. We kind of figured that out, hun. What we need is for Hollywood to stop casting biracial and light skinned actresses in roles for dark skinned historical figures and telling us to just accept it because y'all are the only standard they will accept in Hollywood. It is not a you thing, it is an industry thing that you could be using your voice to speak up about. If you really feel this deeply upset about it, that is where you should be directing this energy. But we'll see, because the fallout from this is going to be big. It was all over Black Twitter. You know how we do. There was a whole chain of memes underneath her. Any black actress she hugged, they had that caption, "My mom looks like you." And it was like, oh, y'all are cold. But seriously speaking, I need people to understand. I don't want this to be black versus black, black versus biracial. But the truth of the matter is, when it comes to historical roles like Nina Simone, like Harriet Tubman, there's a certain level there that Hollywood just doesn't have sensitivity to, because it's still a lot of white people calling the shots there. And for them, it's real easy for them to cast Thandie in a role like this, make her put on prosthetics to spread her nose and darken her skin a little bit and put on a wig, instead of hiring actresses that are already look the part, they can act their asses off, but they're just too dark to fit the aesthetics that these guys want for black women. And I'm sorry, we come in every shape, size, and look. So yeah, I know it's going to be heavy tonight, and this unfortunately is the lightest of the load. We're gonna move on to Whoopi, because this is a very deep topic for me. And it's a deep topic for me because it shows just the level of what's acceptable to people. And exactly, that made people not want to see the movie. Because who wants to go and see somebody that needed to get prosthetics in their nose and their face and pretty much almost shoe polish their skin to fit a role of somebody that looks like us? There's no, it's not okay. And I think Thandie really needs to understand that we understand that she has gone through some things as a biracial black woman. I don't want to take from that pain, but you can't act like this problem isn't serious. And if she got time to cry on camera for a minute about how she's black too, that she needs to respect the fact that the industry is causing this issue and that she could use her time to take on the industry. But I really want to unpack this thing with Whoopi because she got a 2 week suspension from The View, which I don't watch The View. I'm going to be honest. The last time I remember even watching a full View episode was back when Rosie O'Donnell was on there, and that was contentious. And I realized that having these women who sometimes they make good points, sometimes they argue with each other, squawk on my TV in the morning is not good for my mental health. So I am not a big View fan. I am coming at this from the perspective of I notice how certain people are held accountable for their actions, which she is. She's being held accountable for her actions. Whether I agree with it or not, it was ABC's call to hold her accountable for what she said about the Holocaust. And if you don't know, she and another guest, and then her and Joy Behar had an exchange about the Holocaust. Whoopi had misinterpreted what the Jews in the Holocaust went through as not being classified as racism. And the reason I feel she said that, and because a lot of people feel this way, when you hear the term Jewish or Judaism, you think religion. If you have any historical background or a history nerd like myself, you understand that the Jewish faith and the Jewish people are in its own self and ethnicity. In fact, historically speaking, they have been through some things. And what I need to unpack tonight is understanding that fine line between not understanding and anti Semitism that a lot of people are trying to blur. What Whoopi was, she wasn't trying to deny that the Holocaust happened. She wasn't trying to downplay the pain of all the lives lost. She was trying to make it known that the Jewish people that were going through it had white skin. And I know some people want to lose their vapors over it because, unfortunately, Jewish people, people of Askani Jewish ancestry, people who supposedly have features of Jewish nature, which that is so dumb and messed up on its own self. But because of these so-called features, the Nazis targeted them. They racially profiled them. And what I need people to understand tonight about why it's such a muddled conversation is because we have, like every group, people who have known this pain and understand that they are in a marginalized group, but who also get themselves adjacent enough to white supremacy and can pass. And we've had passing blacks do this to where they don't care who gets hurt because that proximity to power is more important to them. And it's hard to navigate this without people trying to accuse you of being anti-Semitic. So a lot of people just leave it alone. It's why I don't talk about Israel. I've been following what has gone on in that country since Yitzhak Rabin was prime minister. And honestly speaking, I don't have a place in saying or weighing in heavily on there because that's not my land. And honestly speaking, there is no right answer to that unless you are there trying to work on peace there. But it is such a tense topic, and anybody weighing in is constantly labeled either anti Semitic or anti Palestinian. That's exhausting. And like I've said before, and I will keep repeating, I have enough of my own issues here in America. I can't worry about what's going on over there anymore because it has been ongoing since my grandmother was a little girl when this conflict really started touch and go with the PLO and Israelites. And I know. But what bothers me about Whoopi getting this 2 week suspension after she gave an immediate apology, and it wasn't one of those non-apology apologies like some of these celebrities, like, I'm sorry you took offense at my words, but no, she understood after it was explained to her how Hitler and the Nazis classified German Jewish citizens as this lesser race to exterminate. And This was on top of Romani people, LGBT, and disabled people. Because a lot of people who still don't even understand what the Holocaust was, who like to liken it to getting a vaccine, don't understand how insidious the Nazis were to their own citizens. But I think tonight, and this is going to be something I need to say that may get me dinged for some people, and I'm sorry. But I think Jewish people need to understand where Black people are coming from with this. I lived in New York during one of the most tense times, Crown Heights. It wasn't a good situation. Little kids got ran over by a car with three Hasidic Jewish kids in it. I call them kids, they were teenagers. The racial tensions that spawned from that was already on top of documented proof that little Black kids couldn't even be on bikes in neighborhoods that had a bunch of Jewish citizens in it because they risked being racially yelled at, taunted, and somewhat attacked. Rocks being thrown at them. It was tense times because there were Jewish New Yorkers who utilized the fact that they had white skin, even though they openly identify as Jewish citizens, to separate themselves and say, at least I'm not you people. That is the reality of that situation. And this in no way says that every Jewish person in New York felt that way. In fact, plenty of Jewish people condemn those types. But you can't act like it didn't happen. And you can't act like the tensions between our two communities, which only benefits white supremacy at this point, isn't real. Because you have the knowledge of being hated for who you are. Historically speaking, pogroms have been going on since the 14th fucking century. Jewish people have known persecution, and I will never deny that. But you can't stop the fact that some of you have found this adjacency to safety and align with people who would sooner hate you but hate us a little bit more. And it's just like we said to people who pass for white when they're Black. It's just like we tell certain LGBT members. When you can have any kind of respite from hate, because the moment you can pass for the so-called norm, that is where the point of contention comes for some of us. And I can't speak for all of us, but I had to undo the resentment I felt from that. And that's why I wanted to talk about it tonight, because if I come at you, and welcome to the chat, Bean, it's okay. If I come at you with this, it's not trying to be a know-it-all. It is trying to show you the process that I went through as a human being to try to shed some of the toxicity that I used to feel growing up in neighborhoods where your neighbors could look like a fucking Benetton ad, where you had Polish families, Italian families, Jewish families, Black families, Hispanic and Arab families all living in a neighborhood together, but still feeling separate by our attitudes on who was worthy and who wasn't. And to undo that little seed of bigotry that you hold on to because you feel resentment is hard, especially when there are people that feel like they can get a break if they just don't put out there certain things. Where when you're Black, there is no rest from this. Everywhere you go, you're reminded that you're other. So I love it when people say, well, we should just work together, and we should, because our main common enemy is white supremacy. But you got to understand the nuances of why so many of us can't trust each other. So many of us feel hurt because we are constantly trying to shout over each other pain instead of recognizing that we are both people hurting. Black people know pain and hurt and dehumanization, but so do Jewish people. And there's no easy way to broach this, but I can tell you one thing: when we're fighting each other, the only person that wins are those fucking fuckheads who stormed our Capitol on January 6th. So we have got to get it together. This shit don't make sense. And you hold women like Whoopi accountable for stepping in it and getting what she thought was the reason why this didn't make sense to her out there, versus fuck shits like Joe Rogan, who I'm going the whole rest of the segment is going to be on him. But I think people need to understand, because I've seen friends of mine, professors even, going back and forth on Twitter over this for the last week. It has been the most touchiest topic besides the main heart of tonight's cast. And I think you need to understand that history needs to be taught, all of it, unvarnished. And instead, we've got fuckers out there burning books, banning books, and not wanting us to know. And if you can get mad at Whoopi for not understanding that the Nazis classified Jewish German citizens as lesser, then you need to get mad at those fuckers who don't want your kids learning about the Holocaust in the first fucking place. Because they're out there, they're loud, they're storming our school boards, and they're getting away with it. And if you want this misinformation to not be the narrative, if you want us to never forget, you need to make sure that people are being educated in the first place and not just learning from The View. But that's the reality of the situation. It's real easy to judge the things that Whoopi has said, and Whoopi, supposedly her apology isn't good enough for some of them, but there's a lot of character actors making waves on this. A lot of people who will say cancel culture for people like this upcoming fuck shit, because they don't want real accountability for their actions, but have nothing but ire for Whoopi, who apologized, who took the time to say, I didn't understand. Thank you for helping me understand, and I am sorry to those my thought process on this hurt. That's not enough, because you don't really want accountability. You want fuckers like this upcoming fuck shit. And I want to thank Mr. Jeezy for chronicalizing this. Let me get to it. Good Lord, that picture of pregnancy was just, oof. Here we go. Mr. Jeezy, thank you so much for this. I'm going to load this up. This is not easy,
Planet of the
y'all.
Apes, man. We're going to go see Planet of the Apes.
It's not
so I look
easy
on the
listening to
iPhone
him
app,
say shit
and it
like
says,
this.
okay, take me to this one. And the guy goes, okay. I goes, is that in a good neighborhood? He's like, oh, yeah. Guy barely speaks English. He takes us there. We get out, and we're giggling. Oh, we're going to go see Planet of the Apes. We walk into Planet of the Apes. We walked into Africa, dude. We walked in the door, and
what kills me about this is it's always people of color that are like on his side, that homeboy on the right just laughing it up, cackling like Heckle and Jekyll. Dude just called an area with, I'm guessing, black and Hispanic people the planet of the apes. And India Arie, who is one of my favorite musicians, who pulled her stuff off Spotify, along with Green Day, y'all, which is one of the reasons why I will and will forever remain a lifelong Green Day fan, put in a decent video. And I'm not going to play this on my cast because it's full of racial slurs. It's full of the worst racial slur for me, a slur that I don't use in my house. I know I have come on record saying that I don't feel that word's empowering and I want it to die. But if you need to, I will link Miss Irie's video on why she's dropping Spotify, because she showed Rogan several times in several contexts using the N-word, and y'all need to stop having that acceptable level of fuckery. You see what I realized about Joe Rogan, and it's not funny, respect. It isn't funny at all, and I realized I didn't even transition it over to his ugly ass self. The thing that kills me about Joe Rogan is his whole comedy style, if you want to even call it that. His whole shtick is to be that edgy guy, that I'm just saying average everyday meathead guy. When I first seen Joe Rogan, it was on that show News Radio. So I thought, okay, he's just like every other meathead I went to school with in Staten Island. He's not so bad. Some of the one-liners was funny. But after a while, you start listening to him, and it's like, you're not for me. Didn't really watch Fear Factor, so. And then he got this talk show syndicate stuff going on and the podcast stuff going on. And I realized he's another one of them do bros. He is the guy that gets to say all the harmful, hateful things that some of y'all feel about us, but you try to do that duality. Oh, I'm for BLM, but I think Joe Rogan's funny when he calls black people apes. Silent, yay! Welcome to the chat, girl. Thank you for coming back. Silent is one of my friends. She was on a much needed break from the internet. Welcome back. A lot of us, I didn't have Spotify, but a lot of us here in the US said, we don't need Spotify. It's okay. You needed your time away, and I'm just glad you're back. The problem with what happened with Joe Rogan is not only is Spotify standing with them after a heck of a lot of loss in revenue, like their stocks tanked for days. But you find out they gave this fool $100 million contract to spew misinformation and bigotry. And what bothers me is everybody's upset with him and started pulling because of this COVID misinformation, which was dangerous enough. And I had enough of his wannabe stupid fans who got themselves blocked today trying to jump in my messages going, well, how was he wrong? He was wrong because he was anti-mask during a global pandemic. He was wrong because he told his listeners that, oh, you could take cattle dewormer, which is in the name itself. It's for cattle, not humans, instead of a vaccine that was crafted for us to make antibodies against this COVID. But yet, I'm not going to argue with people who are stands of this man. You don't argue with stands. You're not going to get through. This is not for you. This is for people who can be logical. People who can understand that even if I like something that Entertainer does, this is not my life. I don't have to be a piece of trash when they act like trash. The acceptableness of Joe Rogan is what pisses me off. The fact that men like Jon Stewart, and this is what broke my heart because I was a huge Daily Show fan of Jon Stewart. One of the things I had stand about Jon Stewart years ago was when he went on that diatribe about how exhausting it is to live with racism every day. Because I thought he understood. He got good writers. Because him, The Rock, few other people that you think would know better are like, oh, don't stand for censorship. Don't pull your musicians, dialogue with him. How are you going to dialogue? How are you telling black people to dialogue with somebody who literally referred to us as apes? Who wants to freely use a racial slur that was used to dehumanize and demean us freely because he thinks he's down enough for that? How are you going to keep allowing him to spread misinformation when we have already lost over 700,000 lives? There are over millions of people affected with COVID. There are still people out there refusing to get a vaccine just to get a transplant. Newspapers want to give them think pieces, want to drum up sympathy for these dummies who refuse to get a life-saving vaccine but want a transplant. I am so tired of the elevation of freedom that is stymieing and hurting all of us. And it's not just here in the States, but it affects us here in the States. That's why I'm making this cast about what's going on here. And this Rogan thing is a very big American problem. Y'all have your acceptable levels of bigotry. And I'm going to tell you, I used to listen to shock stuff. When I was younger, especially, I worked in as a bookkeeper. We could only listen to talk radio, so I listened to Howard Stern. And for everything people want to say about Howard Stern, because he was gross, when I look at it now as an older woman, the things that I used to just laugh off on his show, I can't do that no more. I know he treated women like garbage. He was very ableist towards people with disabilities. I'm sure that one day he might even acknowledge those facts. But the old 10, yeah, I listen to Howard Stern all the time. If there had been a lot of what I just heard from Joe Rogan, especially in that really well done video by India Ari on why she was pulling from Spotify, there's no way. There's no justification. And all the things they used to ding Robin, oh, how could she shuck and jive for Howard and stuff? They said more racist things about Howard Stern. But you know what? Howard Stern quit a lucrative contract with his first employer at NBC because they didn't want Robin. So for all the things you want to say about Howard Stern, not only does he back the people that he cares about, but he has never, ever, that I know, gone on record calling the black community the N-word or saying any racial slur. And he has been on the right side of history about this vaccination and getting people doing what they're supposed to do. So if you want to go shock jock for shock jock, I am coming at you as somebody who used to listen to a shock jock all the time in New York and when I lived in Florida. Joe Rogan's not a shock jock. Joe Rogan's an idiot with a microphone and a bigger platform that he deserves. It is so frustrating to have people say that they are for Black Lives Mattering. They care about what has been literally going on with people like Breonna Taylor, Edward McCain, this latest young man who had died due to a no-knock warrant. We are feeling the brunt of a society that still thinks our lives are expendable. And yet you have these people that will put BLM in their profile, say vote like black women in one breath, but then say, well, we can't censor Joe Rogan. Why the fuck not? Why the fuck do we have to keep elevating this man's platform? He has shown us who he is. And I guess for some of you, this acceptable level of bigotry. I don't have one of those. And I am so tired of this being the conversation, y'all. I'm so tired of people finding ways to excuse. And you notice the ones that are really loud about how we can't just cancel Joe Rogan. It's a slippery slope. It's bigots. Open-faced bigots, conservative bigots, right-wing bigots who want to fly their freak flag because they've had this is their wheelhouse. They've had men like Rush Limbaugh, men like Alex Jones for years spreading this poisonous cancer through the airways, radicalizing young men and their adjacent men of color who just want to fit in. Don't think I don't see you fuckers out there too. Talking about, oh, I don't have a problem with Joe Rogan. I don't care if he calls my people apes or my black friends people apes or my black family if I'm biracial people apes. It has nothing to do with me. Y'all are so fucking fake and phony. You will do anything to be accepted by the people who would lynch you if they had a chance. And I need to be real about that. Because you think you're down enough with these people to be adjacent to them. But I'm telling you right now, if this world went to shit and went all mad math, and guys like Joe Rogan factored in, he be with them tiki torch motherfuckers. He would not be down with us. And you need to realize that as you stand for him. Some of you will put that dude bro logic ahead of your own common sense, and you need to get away from that. Because that shit ain't going to help you. Joe Rogan has $100 million contract to fall back on if he's the platform. He's not hurting. Spotify will hurt, not him. But some of you want him to say the things that you really feel inside about people and still fake the funk that you are on our side, and I'm tired of it. I see who's saying that he should have a way about him, and it's the same people that try to convince me that they understand that this racism problem, this hatred and bigotry problem that we're going through is bad. Jon Stewart is somebody I thought got it, and now I know he doesn't. And The Rock was always problematic, but he's cute, so I tried not to get on his case. But he's always had problematic viewpoints. And we need to understand that our faves are problematic people. Hollywood is a society full of insecure people who can pretend to be other people for the approval of people. And if they will do anything to keep their name relevant, keep their social circles tight, because whoever is in is who they want to be adjacent to. And The Rock is no different. He is one of the biggest names in Hollywood. Why the fuck is he kissing up to a racist like Joe Rogan? That's just Hollywood logic. And that's why I stopped being a stan of most celebrities. I don't put them on undeserved pillars. I can agree with something they do or work they did and realize that they might end up being pieces of garbage. I'm Gen X. How many celebrities have I seen do really awful things? Too many to count. You just don't stand these people no more. You can't, because they're humans. They're flawed, insecure beings just trying to find their place among us too. And that is the sad reality of all of this. It's the sad reality of dealing with racism in general. Having fucked Muppet goblins like Joe Rogan get an amplified platform to spew hatred and misinformation, while Whoopi Goldberg, who has been in entertainment for longer than most of y'all have been alive, steps in it accidentally, apologizes, and gets suspended. Nobody's screaming cancel culture about her from the right. They are calling for more blood because this is all a blood sport to them. As long as the person that they amplify can continue their toxic message that keeps us divided, keeps us arguing, keeps us enjoying the hateful things that Joe Rogan says, it's ridiculous. Between the pick me boys and pick me girls that Joe Rogan incites, it's a sad lot of people who feel angry and dejected and mediocre and don't know where to go. And they hear his Yahoo nonsense about how this is this and this is that, and these people are this, and it's just a joke, I'm just being edgy, and they feel like they fit in. But when you're the butt of his jokes too, you have to realize this man ain't for you. He is very toxic. I tried listening to him because Axie used to watch his stand-up every once in a while. And I was like, let me listen to this. Let me see if he makes me laugh. I like edgy guys. I listen to... Bert Kreischer is one of my favorite ones to listen to. I'm the Machine. Tom Segura, we watched him last night because I had to laugh. That honky thing will never not make me laugh. Sorry, John. Honky is still funny. I get it. It hurt your feelings. We had to listen to you whine about it for days. Exactly, G. Feldman. And I tried really hard to navigate the line of why this is such a touchy topic for both Black people and Jewish people, because it is two groups that understand better than anybody what dehumanization is about. But there are so many fractures amongst our community that we can't even begin to repair because we're so busy fighting with each other that it's just, I don't know the best way forward except to work with those of us who already see that we have to work together. And then just hope that by working together with those of us that see that's the only way forward, that we get more people that put aside the pain and work together. Because like I said earlier, the only people that win when our two communities are at each other's throats about things like the Holocaust are the racists who would love to usher us into a new one of those. And like I said, it's not an easy topic. I brought up Crown Heights because I need people to understand racial tension has been ongoing in New York and beyond for a while now. And it's not just between the Black and Jewish community. Having Black and Asian family isn't a hoot either. Having to defend my cousins versus racism when they're Asian has been a fucking doozy, but I've been doing it for so long that it's tripping me out that now people want to make it a conversation. Having my Filipino cousins who served deal with the fucking fallout of World War II was not fun. Having people do the ching chong thing at my cousins in New York, thinking that that was funny. Black, white, and other people doing that to them. Racism is not fun for anybody going through it. It's not the quiet part for them who like to use that little colloquial. It is in your face for those of us who have to live with it. It's why so many of us were speaking out against stuff in TV and then radio, because we knew how it felt to be othered. It sucks. And for those of you who are fortunate enough to be what society likes to say as the default setting, y'all say things like, well, why race is a construct? Why are we making such contentious dialogue? Joyce, a writer. I don't even feel like pulling up the tweet because it was such an asinine take. But let me address this to you, Joyce, as I did in my last tweet. Your demographic ancestors decided that my demographics ancestors did not deserve the land they were on for my indigenous ancestors, so they came over and took that over. They brought my other ancestors over on ships, tossing the dead ones over and some of the live mouthy ones over as lost cargo, working them to death, breeding them by rape and other means, taking those kids and selling them off like cattle as well. Then, when we broke your system with a civil war, were supposedly freed, there was still laws set to dehumanize, degrade, and make us feel less than. So that is why racial topics are tense. Racial topics cause anger and emotion. Because when you grow up and your only crime in life is having a darker skin pigment or a genetic feature based on your ethnicity that people want to mock and slander because their beauty aesthetics is pure white as the driven snow, it's always the people that are so far removed from hate that try to weigh in on how those of us who deal with it feel about it. And y'all need to just shut the fuck up. That's the best way I can put it. Welcome to the chat, Terry Antico. And for real, I feel like so many people weigh in on that. And that's perfect silent. Weigh in on racism based on how it makes them feel. They never have empathy for those of us who are targeted. That's why I wanted to approach this topic tonight, because what we are going through collectively has been exhausting. And I'll even take it a step farther to say, I get that there are white people out there that are just as fucking tired. Y'all have done everything you can. You have stood up to your MAGA family. You have lost friendships over this. You don't talk to siblings that you grew up with because you see the fallacy in their fuckery and you're tired too. I'm sorry you have to go through this with us, but we need you. We need you to keep fighting with us because this is exhausting. Hate is a poison and no one's immune from it. And for a lot of people, it is so easy to lean into bigotry because you don't have to really think about it to indulge in it. And it is so insidious the way some people lean into it. It is so crazy the way some people just, they're like, it can't be that bad. I just think this group is this way and this group is that way, and I can make a pot shot at it, not thinking of how that person feels being the stereotype, being mocked, being reminded that we're othered and somehow less than. We need to be more mindful and sensitive to the people who are targets and decenter yourself. It's like I said on Tuesday when I called out those two women, because silent, this lady literally jumped in my mentions to ding me because black women didn't go to the Women's March. And I had to remind that person of why black women weren't going to waste our time. A, because 94% of us voted for Hillary Clinton to try to save democracy. But B, y'all didn't even invite Hillary Clinton to the daggone Women's March that was supposed to be protesting the loss she had. So I really had to go off on these white women who were out of pocket all week this week. The nerve. Y'all had a known anti-Semite there. Y'all invited Bernie Sanders, but you didn't have the one person this women march was supposed to be for, and then wanted black women to what? Put on a pink pussy hat and pretend like 53% of your demographic didn't do this? Come on now. No, we're not going to play these games. Some of yous want us to forget recent history and coddle your feelings. And I'm sorry, in the year 2022, I am no longer here to coddle people's feelings. I am here to get facts past the misinformation. I'm here to deplatform those who push bigotry and misinformation. I'm here for the truth, and the truth will sometimes hurt your feelings. Now, you can either process those hurt feelings, realize that it ain't all about you, and help us move on to being better humans, or you can whine about it, and I'm just going to keep moving on without you. But what I'm not going to do is hold the hands of people who think a protest march is more important than getting your asses to the ballot. Because all those pink pussy hats did nothing to me if you're not showing up every single election that needs you to cast a ballot. I don't give a fuck about your march. And I don't give a fuck about how you felt about being called a snowflake. Yeah, there were a lot more white women there. Y'all had the ability to take the time off. Some of us have families to work and take care of. I am telling you. Exactly, twice. Because people need to remember, even though Trump lost historically, y'all's demographics still showed up for that man way more than you should have, even after he killed a bunch of us with a preventable pandemic. And don't think I'm not blaming that administration. And as more stuff comes out, because Tuesday night, as we talk about more election-focused stuff, I am going to talk about the stolen machine things and all the stuff he needed to do, and how all these people are trying to praise Pence now for coming out and saying, I would never have stolen the election for Trump. Yeah, fucking liar. If you thought you could have got away with it, you would have. All of y'all want to give these guys some form of kudos for being bare minimum. But Mike Pence knew from the get what he was getting into, and he was down for it until the very end, even as they threatened his life on the 6th last year, too. It's a mess. The GOP is a death cult, and I don't trust anybody who's still openly conservative anymore. I don't trust anybody who has conservative leans anymore, because when you see the amount of hatred that these people have condoned, when you see the amount of feelings over facts that these people condone, it is unacceptable for me at this point to say, well, there's got to be a few good ones on my side. There's none. They consistently vote to stymie any forms of progress. There are 50 wasted Senate seats right now with an R by their name that need to be replaced by people who want to legislate. And until we do that, I don't trust any conservative. Most of them just want the job to fill their own coffers. And we need to stop making it so lucrative for them to do it. It's tiring, y'all. And speaking of finance and lucrative, this section of the Bonnet Chronicles is very important to me. So let me get the proper thing up here for this. This symbol here, I'm sure you've heard it. I'm sure like a lot of Gen X and especially boomers, you probably wonder what the fuck it is. NFTs. Just like crypto, NFTs is going to be the new way we figure out how to digitize, monetize our internet. Everybody wants to make money. It's a reality of this situation. From the first coin that was minted to the paper money that supposedly represents the amount of gold bullion we have in this country, money sadly still makes this world go round. And now that we are in the digital era, we have to figure out a way to monetize things. And from everything I've seen of NFTs, it's a way to monetize digital currency. Now, some people got into weird technical terms about rarities and stuff, but basically a tweet, like Jack's first tweet, a picture or artwork drawn by somebody and scanned can be created into an NFT. And supposedly you own the image and some other shit that's to it. All I'm saying, and I need especially Black people to understand this, is it is not federally backed currency yet. It is an offshoot. So if you're going to take your actual federal backed currency that this country or whatever country of origin you're currently in has to invest in this, you are doing so at a high risk. There are people that can afford to buy a $20 million NFT and sadly not make a dent in their bank account. You're not one of those people. So I need to make it clear on this because we're getting inundated by Bitcoin this and NFT that, celebrities coming out with commercials, and it can make you feel like, oh, I gotta jump in on this. It might be the next Google or Yahoo. And I'm telling you right now, is somebody with a financial background. I want people to just be smart. Investigate anything you put your money into and realize that if you're putting your money into this, you are putting something that is backed by your government into something that's not. And until at least one country officially recognizes NFT as their national currency, you are taking too big of a risk. And I don't think a lot of people want to hear me say that. And I know a lot of people don't want me saying that. But I want to be real, because the people that get hurt the most from stuff like this are people that look like me, who are easily swayed by the internet, easily swayed by celebrities. Y'all need to stop letting people who are already showing they got more money than brains dictate your pockets, because you're not going to get rich off of this unless you're that savvy to where you know exactly how many of these shits to buy and offload it on the stupid people that have more money than brains, and then get out scot-free with actually federally backed currency. Because until NFTs and other digital currency are recognized by financial institutions and our federal government, you are taking a huge risk. And I know it's not the popular stance. I know young kids are going to be like, okay, boomer, whatever you say. But I want people to understand the risk of this, because a lot of black households still don't understand these financial things. Their kids are getting information from TikTok and Twitch and Fortnite. And then you get pulled into something that you don't understand, and you lose a little bit of money you're earning. And I don't want to see that happening. So the long story short of this is, if you're going to invest, make sure this thing you're investigating isn't just because Nikki said, or Cardi said, or somebody famous said. Make sure that it's one of those stupid old men that have billions of dollars that want to invest in it. Get your money and bounce. Sell it to somebody else. Because that is the only fucking way you're going to make money from this. You are not going to make money on it like stocks. You cannot invest in this like a stock and hope that sometime in the future you can pay it off, because we don't know if in the future any country is going to recognize this. It's not exactly, Tiffany. Welcome to the chat. I think exactly monetized fart does make it's perfect for that. I collect stuff. That's why I need people to understand where I'm coming from. I have a whole closet full of comic books. You see some of the artwork I have hanging up there. I've got figures and stuff. They have sentimental value to me. And sometimes you get lucky when you collect that stuff and there's a rarity. Like I have a comic book right now with a dead NASCAR figure that has a misprint. Because of those two flaws, it's worth a little bit more. Stuff like that is a rarity. It is not the exception. It's not the rule. It's not even the exception to the rule. And depending on who wants it, it could go up and down in value. I need people to understand that our economy is not a game that you want to play with. And when a lot of people gamble, you lose. And this digital Wild West, as we're currently in, is going to have a lot of people using these get-rich-quick schemes, just like the fake gold mine sellers back in the day. Just like the people that used to sell deeds to the Brooklyn Bridge. You're always going to have those who can take advantage of people's lack of awareness and lack of understanding. And that is why I wanted to spend tonight explaining to you that while NFTs and Bitcoin sound great, a lot of famous people are hyping them up because they've got money to burn. If that is not your situation, don't waste your money. You are taking something that you have federally backed, putting into something that might not even be there the next day. Bitcoin is also, from what I've been finding out as I study this, because I want to make sure that I'm not making mistakes by telling people who jump into my DMs trying to get me to hawk their latest crypto coin to get the fuck out of there. But I've been hearing that it's not that great for our environment. These machines that they build, these rigs to mine it, are damaging to our environment. So there's a lot we still don't know about this stuff. And I just want people to be more informed before you come out of pocket and end up hurt. This is really serious to me because I had the financial training. It is why, even though I probably survive on an income that most people would be like, how do you do it? That I can come to you correctly about this. I was a bookkeeper for 20 fucking years. I'm not just saying this stuff to be a know-it-all nerd. This is something that was my life. Making sure that the numbers make sense, making sure that it lines up. And for me, taking something that I know will be recognized by the bank, will be recognized in other countries' banks, versus something that is unknown doesn't make sense. It doesn't compute, and you shouldn't invest your money in it. Make sure you know who you're following, because some of you are being foot soldiers for other people's financial fuckery now, and that's not a good thing. And I just don't want to see good people get hurt trying to be down, trying to be hip, and trying to join something that most of us don't understand still. I would love to act like NFTs are going to be the next thing, but if it's anything like the art society, and those of us with family who have enough money to buy expensive pieces of art, we've known that's been a money laundering scam for years now. And that is what this is going to devolve into. So yeah, that is my stance on it. I know it's going to step on some people's toes, and I'm sorry. But for me, right now especially, Bitcoin is suspect, NFTs are suspect. And the only people that seem to be making any money off of it are the people that can fool these millionaires into dropping $20 million on a fucking monkey picture. Or $2.9 million on Jack Dorsey's first tweet. Fools with money to burn. They don't have money to help build up neighborhoods or make it where people don't have to rent their life away. They don't have money to help us restructure healthcare, but they can buy a fucking picture of a monkey or a tweet that anybody could take a screenshot of. That's why I said the whole currency system is a fucking joke to me, but since we can't get rid of it easily, we need to be smarter with how we invest. And for black people, we already have trouble understanding investment because they've made it clear that they really don't want us in that game in the first fucking place. So I need you to be careful of anybody trying to convince you, especially when they already have a lot of money, to invest a little bit of money you have into some weird ass NFT or Bitcoin. Don't do it. That's my advice on that. And you can take it as you wish. This is just my word. I understand now that having a following, which before and honestly speaking never mattered to me, means that my words carry weight. That's another problem I have with men like Joe Rogan. That's a problem I have with a lot of celebrities that do shit like Thandie's little 1 minute whine fest about how she's sorry she's taking our men. When you have enough people that really want to hear what you have to say and take your words to heart, you need to be mindful of what you put out there. I want you to check me on stuff. And I hope to God that if I'm wrong about both Bitcoin and crypto, that 10, 20 years from now, when you are mega millionaires from it, you ding me. But I have a feeling that that's not going to be the case. And I'm an old witch, so my vibes don't lie on this. I go by not just what I feel, but what I know math-wise. You're telling me to invest into something that has no tangible value. It's made up value, and that value can be devalued by a rumor. That's basically the stock market without all the protections. Why would I give you money for an NFT when I could just invest in stock, which I have been doing slowly but surely with Acorns? Yeah, no, I think I'll stick with my tried and true, slow, squirrel my pennies away so that I have maybe a guaranteed retirement fund in about 20, 30 years than playing around with this monopoly money bullshit that y'all are trying to push as the new thing. I'm sorry, I'm just not hyped about this. Another thing I want to touch upon before we wrap it up is people have been in my DMs all week, y'all, and I try to keep up with this. I understand that a lot of you want to reach out to me. And it's been brought to my attention. I'm not sure if this lady was just trying to get me to click on a phishing link or not. She still hasn't answered me back since I asked her. But apparently, there's somebody on Instagram using my name. There might be somebody on TikTok. I do not have any of those accounts. My Facebook is under my name, Tanisa Walker. I think my last post was about 2 or 3 years ago, if not longer. So anybody calling themselves Kalari on Facebook is not me. I don't have an Instagram. I never seen the point of it. I could put pictures on Twitter. I used to put pictures on Facebook. I didn't see the need. I had a Pinterest under my name, not under Kalari, and I don't have a TikTok. TikTok for me is like Wikipedia. If I get on it, I'm not getting any work done. So I stayed away from that evil. I don't need it. I don't want it. And I'm not going to put my Bonnet shorts on there because I have Twitter, I have YouTube, and I have Twitch. So if you see somebody out there saying they're me, especially since we have a lot of people who use the internet to get donations. And this is not to ding people. I know that is a touchy subject for y'all. There have been a lot of people who use Twitter to ask for help. And I want them to still be able to do that. But if you see somebody on any site besides Twitter or Twitch or YouTube saying that they're me, and on those platforms, as you can see, I am always in y'all's face, then you know it's not me. And unfortunately, I think the lady was showing me that they're taking my Bonnet shorts and re-uploading them. So I know it's going to look like me. But I've told you, I don't want to learn a bunch of passwords, man. And I don't need a whole bunch of accounts. So I am telling you right now, video proof that I do not have those accounts. Do not follow them. Do not come out of pocket for them. I am not on Instagram. I am not on TikTok. And my real name is Tanisa Walker. So if somebody is on another medium calling themselves Kalari and it's not a video game, it's more than likely not me. And you should just ask them. You know my vernacular now. And even if they try to copy them and you still think it's not me, those of you who are close enough can just hit me up on the phone and be like, hey, I'm online with somebody saying they're you. Is it you? And I'm like, girl, you know, or no, it's not me. Get out of that conversation. People are going to fake. The more this show gets out there, the more my name gets out there, there are going to be people who try to imposter. Silent can tell you, her main account has had fake people make it. Anytime you make a name for yourself online, you're going to have copycats. So please be careful and be wary and know that I do not have any other platform besides this one, YouTube, and Twitter. Nowhere else. And welcome to the chat, DeWitchy. I just think this night was heavy because we see the issue. The issue is bigotry, not just racism. We have misogyny to tackle. We have all forms of ignorance. We have all kinds of religious intolerance and just every kind of intolerance out there. And the only person that wins when we're at each other's throats are people who benefit from this shit, like Joe Rogan. And it's just tiring to see this embracement of acceptable levels of bigotry over all of us who are the victims of this hatred, working together to make it a thing of the past. We are currently in what I like to call the digital dark ages. And the only way we are going to get into a better thing is to work together. But I know it's not easy. And that's why I wanted to really bring it up tonight, because I know that there are people who are like, oh, you want to kumbaya. I just want to work together. Just like my old job back in the day when I worked in the office, I didn't like everybody I worked with. I'd be a liar if I did. I tolerated them because it was important to get what I had to get done. And that's just like that in life. I'm not asking for all of us to be BFFs, but when we see a common enemy that are literally destroying our communities, when we see swastikas on synagogues, when we see no-knock raids taking yet another life and making another fucking hashtag, it is time for us to stop arguing amongst our communities and fucking get together and tackle this beast, because it sure as heck doesn't mind killing us. It is tiring seeing people get distracted by every other little petty thing when our real enemy is right there in front of us and is laughing at us. and wants to make, oh, it's just about censorship. You can't censor us, can't cancel us. We need to. Let them whine to their own little circles. But why do we keep amplifying their toxic message? Why do we keep giving people that look like us, that want adjacency to them, amplification? We need to make this bigoted mindset the way of the dinosaurs. And the only way we're going to do that is working together. And I'm not saying let go of any pain or mistrust. That'd be crazy. You can't do that. I say that as a paranoid schizophrenic. You cannot just say, oh, I can do this. I can let go of my mistrust of this. I'm saying, what's more dangerous right now? A fellow human being who understands what it's like to be marginalized, that understands what it's like to be hated for who they are, working together with you, or the person that's doing it, watching us tear each other apart. We have to start fucking really getting it together, because we're the ones that suffer the most from this. And we're the ones who could work together to topple their shit, and they are afraid of that. So I'm going to get ready to wrap this up with this thought in mind, y'all. As we argue about whether musicians should pull their stuff off of Spotify, which you should, because that app is garbage. They have already shown that they will take the money that your music put on there to pay a bigot to spread COVID misinformation. If that is your jam, I'm not speaking for you. But if you see the logical fallacy in continuing to give benign bigotry, which there's no such thing in, a place in the airwaves, then we all need to work together to stop making it relevant, stop giving it such lucrativity, and get our shit together, y'all. But I'm going to get ready to wrap this up. I cannot believe an hour and 10 minutes went by that quickly. Y'all make this so much fun for me to do. I really appreciate that. And it's true. You know, there are so many apps that musicians can go to. There are so many places we can all go to get our platforms out there. If Spotify wants to back Joe Rogan, let him keep Joe Rogan. I guarantee you their stock losses will keep happening too from it. I hope in the realm of fuck around and find out that this was worth it for them, because it doesn't seem like it for me. But I'm going to wrap this up. Thank y'all all so much for joining in. I will be in my friends' streams tonight. I have a feeling that they're going to be playing some amazing games. Thank you all so much for showing up. I will be back on Sunday with D&D. I tend to be focused on the game, so that's not really chat-based. But if you want to join in and just see what I'm doing, that's fine. Tuesday night will be another Bonnet Chronicles, though. We're going to 2 nights a week because the midterms are coming up, and I've got to stay ahead of the yahoos like that Chris fuck from MSNBC who wants to take away the good that the Biden-Harris administration is doing. So 2 nights a week until November and maybe even beyond. But from now on, you will see me on Tuesdays and Friday nights. But I am going to wrap this up, and I will see you. I love you guys. See y'all soon.